Talk a lot about the authentic media and the corporate media, and this next story illustrates just how the corporate media is controlled and how they move that control to their reporters to intimidate them. Saudi Arabia threatens to end the career of AP reporter over chemical weapons story. Now, this is a story we reported back on InfoWars a couple of weeks ago. AP reporter Dale Gavlak has been threatened over her involvement in a story which exposed how Syrian rebels were responsible for the August 21st chemical weapons attack after being handed the weapons by Saudi intelligence agents. Gavlak has now been, quote, indefinitely suspended, unquote, by the AP with no public explanation from the news agency. It looks like the threat to end her career worked. She had confirmed at the time with several colleagues and with the Jordanian embassy that the Saudis were supplying chemical weapons. And if you remember, in the story, they said that the people in the community did not know exactly what these weapons were, that they accidentally exploded. And we've also had information from Dr. Yusuf Bodansky and others that this type of sarin gas that was used in the March attack is a kitchen-style variety. In other words, a home-brewed variety. It's not a military industrial grade variety of sarin. And that would explain why there was a lot of questions at the very beginning as to why the first responders were not dying from sarin gas. But getting back to the fallout of this story, of just honestly reporting what she found, going on the scene and talking to people and getting the information instead of just parroting the government line. Remember that both wings of left and right are under real control by the corporate media. And in the case of Fox News, Saudi Prince Al-Walid bin Talal owns a 7% stake in News Corp. That's Fox News' parent corporation. He's the second largest shareholder behind the Rupert Murdoch family. And Joseph Farah pointed out just 3 years ago that the Saudi Prince Al-Walid owns a very significant percentage of News Corp and has let the world know that he can get things taken off of Fox News if he doesn't like the story, and has done so in the past. So he's bragged about that. We've also seen Saudi Prince Bandar, who was reportedly in charge of intelligence that shipped these chemical weapons. We've also seen in leaked transcripts from the Russians that he threatened the Russians that they would, if they did not stop supporting the Syrian government, that they would have terrorist attacks during the Olympics. So when you look at this and you say, well, we've got Israel, we've got Saudi, aren't they supposed to be on opposite sides? It looks like they're both working with al-Qaeda. It looks like the U.S. is working with al-Qaeda. The CIA is working with al-Qaeda. At the same time, they're saying that al-Qaeda is the greatest threat to the homeland here in America and using that as an excuse to take away our rights. The question is, when are people in this country, when is the American public going to wake up to this phony charade that's going on, where you've got these musical chairs of terrorists, these changing alliances? As Kissinger said, they have no permanent allies, only permanent interests, and their interest is to subdue the public and to take away our civil liberties. Look at this story. The CIA-linked vet who fought with al-Qaeda has now been released from jail. Understand that this is a guy who his father said worked for the CIA. He was just released from jail today after having served only 3 months. And this is what he's accused of having done. 31-year-old Eric Haroon has received what's been described as a sweet plea deal after he faced life in prison for providing material support to a terrorist organization by fighting with Jabhat al-Nusra. Remember that name? That's the al-Qaeda organization in Syria. The group that the New York Times reported, quote, killed numerous American troops in Iraq. He bragged about shooting at least 10 people. He's been fighting alongside jihadists, and you can see videos of his exploits on YouTube where he's bragging about people that he's taking down. Now, this comes as we see these attacks in Kenya, the shopping mall, and the people there self-identifying themselves as Mujahideen. Remember the name of the Mujahideen? Those were the Afghan rebels that Carter and then Reagan aided and armed and trained against the Russians, and they became al-Qaeda. A lot of them are still going by the original name of Mujahideen, and we see that we've got 6 Americans among the Nairobi mall attackers. That's been released today. Also understand, as Jerome Corsi and as Webster Tarpley has pointed out, there is an Obama connection to Kenya, besides his supposed birth father being there. We also know that he actively supported Odinga, who has Muslim and communist ties in Kenya. This may be a play, it may be a false flag, because it's very disturbing to see how the corporate media, the mainstream media, was pushing this weekend in the wake of this mall attack in Kenya, saying that this is the sort of thing that's going to be happening in the U.S., and so we need to have TSA all over the malls. That's the way they're using this event, as if it was something that happened in the United States. There may very well be a CIA double agent or al-Qaeda that's being run in these Kenya attacks, especially considering the close ties and connections that have already been pointed out by Obama in that area.